Hey there everybody, Dave here, aka Scribe D. Welcome back to the final episode of Let's Play Limbo. This is a rather devious little puzzle, because if you forget to pull the minecart out here, then you end up going through a lot of effort to figure out this part of the puzzle, only to get yourself killed once you've finally done it. And I had such a hard time with this puzzle my first time playing through the game, and I just kind of completed it through dumb luck and then found the trick on my second playthrough, which is this. You take a run leap up this. Fuck. I think I might be jinxing myself. So the trick is you want to take it all the way to the right side, push it left, climb up, and then wait till it gets back to the left side to pull that switch so that you can end up here. Otherwise you end up just kind of fiddling around with which way it's swaying, and it can get kind of annoying. And this one is going to be very hard to do with the glare. Hooray! When I completely underestimate my own abilities, I'm fine. When I say, yeah, I've got this, screw it up. Take that as a lesson. Never have confidence in yourself. And I don't really know that there's a trick to make this a little more intuitive, but it's just kind of trial and error here. It's not that tough, but it might take a couple tries to get perfect. It's mostly just learning or acquiring a feel for that puzzle. And again, another puzzle where you're mostly just going to be waiting around. As long as we don't screw anything up. And you could just, against the light provided by the sparks, you could just barely make out that the crate falls there. And, hey, surprise, we can jump up to this ledge and then jump over here. And there's an egg completely hidden in the dark, with the only light source coming from your two glowing white eyes. Oh, I was wrong earlier about there only being two eggs left. Now there are 2 eggs left. This is another fun little puzzle, revolving entirely around distorting gravity, or rather reversing it. And this is actually might be one of my favorite puzzles in the whole game. Where's it landing? Now we're just going to reset that crate down below one more time. It's amazing how well this game uses all that negative silhouetted space. Because you could just use it to cheaply hide things. Emphasis on cheaply there. But what makes the hidden eggs so interesting is that while they are cloaked in darkness most of the time, the way you get to them and the way you work your way around the silhouettes tends to be pretty interesting. Huh. That shouldn't happen. What? Oh, never mind. Ah, damn it. I messed that up a bit. I had a bit of a brain fart there. As I've apparently been having several times throughout this this sitting. That's how that's supposed to go. Always worried I'm not gonna get that one. That one tends to give me a lot of trouble. And what usually throws me off here is that the timing here is different from the last hotel sign puzzle. This one actually, the electricity comes on in 3-second intervals here, and the last one is, I think, 4-second intervals. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. And so if you try to use the same timing from the last hotel sign puzzle, you actually end up getting pretty screwed up until you realize there's a 1-second difference. Where the hell did I land? Oh. That's no good. I think I actually might just barely not get this egg. Ah. as we get closer to the end here, I think we're just 2 puzzles away, if you count this little section here as its own standalone puzzle. Notice how much more often we're getting thrown around. Gravity's reversing itself on a consistent basis now. Again, leading back to my preferred theory at this point, the cartridge theory. As the kid has finally relived his life, had it flash before his eyes, closer and closer to the point where he finally dies. His final memories are of tumbling about non-stop, which would be the point where the cars have finally collided or the cars crashed. And now we're almost at the point where he's done tumbling, because this is the final puzzle of the game. Be able to do this much more consistently if I actually timed it out, but I usually just do this by by gut. Yeah, you have to be a little bit higher when the gravity goes back to normal there. All of the things that I have failed in this, I'm gonna get crushed. No. Everything that I've consistently failed at in this sitting, I nailed not more than 30 minutes ago when in my practice playthrough. Apparently I used up all my talent. There we go. So now the kid has finally stopped tumbling about, and at this point, I think, he's crashing through the windshield of the car. And one thing to point out that I hadn't thought of before, but all the people you see hanging earlier in the game might be symbolic of the kid's neck snapping at the end of the accident. And now a curious thing happens here because the kid is going to get back up. And I'll explain my thoughts on that in just a moment here. Because here we are going to see, wait for it, that little girl again. And my thoughts on this are that the bulk of the game has been the kid reliving his memories, as I've said before, having his life flash before his eyes, up until the point of the accident where you have him tumbling around, the world is tilting, gravity is going haywire, and finally he breaks through the windshield of the glass, and at that point he's finally relived his life up until death, albeit in an abstract and time-dilated way, and finally when he gets back up is when he is truly dead, and he's as a spirit seeing his sister or some sort of relative planting flowers at his grave, and the game ends at that point because he is finally broken free from Limbo and is ready to rest in peace. For any of that to make sense, though, you have to think that, again, time is being dilated in some way. That what might be taking place over the course of hours, days, weeks, is actually compressed into this series of moments. But again, the flaw in this, a flaw of this theory is that you have to be selective about the evidence to believe it. You have to ignore some things and say that they aren't relevant to the ending, or they aren't relevant to the narrative and are just gameplay contrivances, like the glowworms, the crate puzzles, or you have to explain the ending in an alternate way, the insanity theory, for instance. The evidence that does support the theory is pretty convincing, especially the end when you're tumbling about and going through what looks like a pane of glass. The problem lies in the fact that there are also things that don't contribute to that theory. It's kind of like diagnosing an illness and only choosing the symptoms that support a certain diagnosis while ignoring the rest. It's a sort of confirmation bias. There's also the interpretation that it's not necessarily a sad ending, but kind of a happy ending in a way. He may be dead, but he's journeying through Limbo to unite with his sister, who's possibly also dead, and finding his sister is what allowed him to move on. Or that he sees that his sister is alive, that she survived the accident, and that's what allows his soul to be given rest. In any case, though, it does seem like the kid is able to, after dying in an admittedly grotesque way, he's allowed to have eternal peace, whether you believe that he would be able to rest eternally in the afterlife or just cease consciousness. I'm not a religious person at all, but still, the idea that one way or the other he's finally put out of his suffering is actually bittersweet. But one of the wonderful things about this game, I think, is that there's not really an all-inclusive, holistic, packaged ending. There's no perfect interpretation. Everything is shrouded in ambiguity, but there's so much to infer from. Limbo strikes a balance that's superb in its abstraction. And that's what I love about this kind of game. It's not necessarily the strict high-concept genre, quote-unquote, art game, but just games that rely on subtlety and non-explicit storytelling to allow as many players as possible to formulate their own opinions on what the game was all about. That's why something like The Void, also known as Tension, is one of my favorite games of all time. Don't get me wrong, I also love the strict script-heavy cinematic style of storytelling, but I feel like something like Limbo plays to the strength of the medium a little better because it relies on everything that games have to offer, the audio and visuals included, but also player agency. And I view the medium as a bit of a blend between painting and movies, with the twist of player agency making it its own unique thing. Games are similar to paintings in the level of inference and interpretation they require, because there's no straightforward translation from what a gameplay mechanic means in terms of a story into exposition, and that agency really is what shakes things up. That's why I think we're seeing blended storytelling styles emerge, games that tell half of their story through abstract gameplay mechanics, which you can only interpret in the same way that you can only interpret the meaning of a painting through inference, and the other half in script-focused exposition or through subtleties in the visual style. In any case, though, I genuinely hope you guys pick this game up, play through it, develop your own theories, and post in the comments. Get a good discussion going. Even if you're not posting in the comments here, discuss it with somebody you know who also has played through it. Because this game has a very special way of inspiring that kind of discussion, because it is so open-ended and so open to inference. Aside from that, that's gonna be it for Limbo. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this Let's Play. It's certainly been my favorite so far, and I'd love to hear all your wonderful theories in the comments. And even if you don't post in the comments about the game, and I hope that you at least consider picking it up and developing your own theories on it, because it's definitely open-ended enough that it inspires some really interesting discussion. Aside from that, be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out on the channel, because I will probably be getting back to something a little bit more bombastic next week. That said, thanks for watching, folks. Take it easy. I'll see you next time.